Wow. Big boy. Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2006 Subaru Outback. Up front is a 2.5 liter flat four, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, I'm actually really excited about this review because this is one of the last Outbacks I have to drive. I've driven a couple different gens, and that'll be at the end of the video. I'll put a link to all my other Outback reviews. You can kind of see how they've changed over the years, but this is the 2006, so let's get into it. Let's get back to that 2.5 liter flat four. Well, Subaru is known for their flat four engines. It makes a decent amount of power, about 168 horsepower, and I'll put the torque up on the screen as well. But fuel economy is 23 miles to the gallon, city 28 miles to the gallon on the highway, which I have to say isn't too bad for a 14-year-old all-wheel drive wagon. The reason I say that is normal, or at least 14 years ago, all-wheel drive kind of meant the MPGs had to suffer. As well as a large wagon, this thing wasn't and still isn't light. So it's a big deal that it gets decent gas mileage, given the fact that it is a heavy station wagon that's all-wheel drive. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Right now, it's not giving me any issues. And this is before Subaru swapped over to CVTs. Modern Subarus, pretty much every modern Subaru that's automatic is a CVT, which is a continuously variable transmission. I don't like the feeling of CVTs, so I'm glad that this has just a regular 4-speed. Now, you could have gotten it with a 5-speed automatic as well, or you could have gotten these in manual, but I'm not complaining about the 4-speed. Last but not least, of course, the Outback is all-wheel drive. It has Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive, which I think still to this day, 14 years later, is one of the best all-wheel drive systems you can get in a car. But let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 main gauges. On the left is my coolant temperature, then I have my tachometer, then on the right I have my speedometer, and all the way to the right I have my fuel gauge. I like the clean, nice, simple setup that Subaru has done. They've done this for a while, and I really, really like it. The steering wheel surprisingly doesn't have any front face buttons on it. However, there is the cruise control stalk at the bottom right. I do have cruise control, which is very nice, especially for 2006. But it's clean, it's simple, and it's easy. It's a good looking steering wheel in my opinion. To the left of me, I have my dimmer switches, as well as my mirror adjustments, and below that, I have heated windshield wipers, or windshield wiper heaters. Essentially, this is to defrost your windshield wipers in the winter months. Ice collects on them, they'll stick to the window, it'll break. I've gone through this a million times with one of my older cars. It's a pain. This, you hit the defrost, it'll warm up your windshield wipers so they don't freeze to the windshield. That's ingenious, and a lot of modern cars even don't have that feature. On the door, I just have my window switches, lock and unlock, and things like that. What's nice about the doors and the windows is most Subarus, especially from this era, are frameless, so the window won't freeze shut. This is very much a all-weather vehicle. I like that a lot. However, with the frameless windows, you do get a little bit more road noise as the car starts to get older. Those seals start to kind of wear out, and you get a little bit of extra wind noise when you're on the highway. It's not that big of a deal, just something you should know about. In the center, I do have a nice cubby hole for storage. I do have a little digital clock on the dash as well. I really like that, and it's really easy to read. The sort of cubby hole up above it creates somewhat like a hood, and so even though it's really sunny, it's bright, it's 10 o'clock in the morning right now, I could still read it. I like that a lot. Down below that, I have my typical Subaru radio. I mean, I have a CD player, AM, FM, no aux or Bluetooth, unfortunately, but you can get one of those little Bluetooth receiver things from 7-Eleven and it'll work fine. You'll be okay. Then I have my ashtray, and there's a 12-volt outlet in there, which is very nice. And then I have the shifter. Again, very typical Subaru shifter, automatic, nothing really too crazy. But down below that, I do have my heated seats. Yes, this has heated seats. Absolutely amazing. It is the dead of summer right now. It's very warm outside. However, the heated seats work phenomenally. Very, very good and very, very nice. Now, the seats themselves are pretty comfortable. I'm not complaining about them. They're not the top luxury, and they're not hard as a rock either. Fair middle ground, and honestly, I've been driving this car around for a while, and I'm not uncomfortable in any way, so it's good to go from that standpoint. Now, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2006 Subaru Outback, and I've never, ever praised Subarus of this era for having a good back seat. It feels slightly better than the Legacy a little bit, but I'm still kind of crammed back here, and what doesn't make sense is that I have this huge hatch, this huge rear trunk space, and yet they couldn't move the seats back 2 more inches. I find that very, very frustrating. However, it is what it is. I don't really have any amenities back here. This looks like it would pull out. It does not. Yeah, I got nothing back here. I do have power windows, which is nice, and you are able to take 5 people, which is nice. You could fit 5 people in a vehicle. Again, you know, it's very utilitarian. We'll talk more about that later, but overall, it's not a horrible back seat, but it's definitely not my favorite. Now we have to talk about the looks of the Outback. Now, the Outback is based off of the Legacy. The Legacy is its sister car, essentially. They share chassis. They share a lot of parts, and I'll show a 2005 Legacy GT wagon, and you can kind of see what I'm talking about. They're the same thing. And so really the Outback started off as a package. They sort of flip-flop back and forth. You used to be able to get the Outback package on a WRX, which is sort of weird. But why would you get an Outback versus a Legacy? What's the big difference? What's the big hoopla about the Outback over the Legacy? Well, the biggest deal is really the suspension. The Outback sits a lot higher. This rides higher than the Legacy. This is more of an all-terrain vehicle. This is more of a utilitarian tool, rather than Legacy is something a librarian sort of drives to and from work. Where this is for overlanders. This is for people who love camping. This is for people who love going to the Rocky Mountain National Park. This is for people who love outdoorsy things. That extra ride height, it has some nicer features. This is ready to do it all. And the Legacy isn't not ready to do it all, but this is more ready to do it all, if that makes any form of sense. From Subaru, at least from this decade, this era, the mid-2000s, I will say this was the most rugged, the most off-road ready, the most camper ready, fishing trip ready vehicle you could buy from Subaru. I will say that. And if anyone wants to fight me, my comment section is open. And what I said about the old Subaru Outbacks carries on here. This car drives, this car feels like a little puppy that's just ready for anything. It's a kid excited on Christmas. It's a kid excited about his first camping trip. You can't wait to go outside and you sit in nature and enjoy it. Now, I'm going to take a little trick, a little saying out of Mr. Regular's book from his Mazda Miata review, because I think it holds true to the Outback. This Subaru Outback is the negative. And what I mean by that, I don't mean it's actually negative. What I mean is the fact that when you drive a Subaru Outback, you focus on everything but the Subaru Outback. This opens up avenues for life to flourish. When you drive one of these, you have the capability of going camping. A camping trip is not going to revolve around your Subaru Outback, but it got you there. Pulling a little fishing boat down to Lake Shelbyville and enjoying a weekend with your friends out on the lake fishing is not about the Subaru Outback, but it got you there. Driving down a dirt road to a cabin up in Door County, Wisconsin isn't about the Subaru Outback, but the Outback got you there. You see what I mean? This opens up avenues for you to enjoy the rest of your life. When I drive expensive cars or cool cars, let's just say the Hellcat or the Audi R8 that I drove, when you're driving those cars, you're focusing on the cars. You're thinking about, look at how cool this car is. But when you drive a Subaru Outback, you say, look at how cool life is. This is not a selfish car. As a matter of fact, I'll say this is one of the most selfless cars you can buy. This is my good friend David's humble daily driver. And so I know this weekend he's following his friend in a Mazda Miata up north to Wisconsin so he can drift it at an event. This car is going to be a support vehicle. David is going to make sure his friend gets there safely. And if something happens, David's going to be there for him. And David helping his friend is not about the Subaru Outback, but it got him there. And that's what I want you guys to take home. This car is a wingman. This car is a friend, and an unselfish one at that. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to David for letting me take out his Outback. His car is great. He's a great friend of mine, and I can't wait to see all the adventures he has in this thing. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.